Quasi here, and in this video, I want to talk to you about semen retention and why you shouldn't do it, and who shouldn't do it, and when is the best time to actually do it. This video is going to be very controversial because a lot of you have seen me make videos about semen retention and why it's the best thing to do. So make sure you really understand the gist of this and actually stick around till the very end of this video to understand really the dynamics behind performing this exercise and retaining your semen. Okay, this was something that was very key for me to understand, because if you really do it the wrong way, you're going to end up causing yourself harm. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery program. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video for the announcement on that. And with that, let's get started with this video. So today I want to talk to you about semen retention and really understanding the dynamics behind it, why you shouldn't do it and who should do it and when to actually do it, right? So really this practice is extremely powerful, okay, for certain people. But what happens is we get very, very carried away with it. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, anything in excess, anything in compulsion, okay, this becomes destructive. So anything in excess will eventually become destructive and it will start to work against you, okay? Even if it's in terms of you spilling your seed too much or you holding it in too much, okay? The problem becomes when it enters the mind. It's just like, when money's in the pocket, it's completely fine. But when it enters the mind, that's when it becomes a sickness. When, sex is in the body, it's completely fine. But when sex enters the mind, that's when it becomes a problem. So anything in the mind will always multiply and divide, okay? And what you've got to understand is that the very reason why there's such talk about semen retention right now is because really semen in the body has the power to create another human being, okay? This is the very basis of your own existence. So naturally it has the highest potency. And in yoga what they say is that 40 drops of blood is required to manufacture 1 drop of semen. Okay? They call this virya in the yogic culture. And really because of the power of this, a lot of yogis have, concocted sadhanas and they've concocted really exercises to help them retain and become eventually brahmacharyas. If we look at brahmacharyas, they're bursting with a different level of energy, right? And that's because they've learned to not just hold this in, but also transmute it into other areas and other activities of their lives. So this can really become a very, very powerful thing, or it can also become a very detrimental thing. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But what you've got to understand is that the general concept behind this is that this activity of spilling your seed, it can be done to, produce a life, or it can be done to, just spill it on your bed sheets, right? So really there's a pleasure aspect to it. When you do it too much, when it becomes a compulsion, it's nothing to be judgmental about, but rather you just understand that it's becoming detrimental to you because it's just giving you a shorter term spike and it's wiring you for the lower pleasures of life. If all you can see are the lower pleasures of life, the higher pleasures of life will always be missing to you. And the thing with the lower pleasures of life is that they're all finite, You can have an orgasm, you can make $1 million, but you'll always want another one. You'll always want 1,000,002. And in that sense, it will never be enough. Okay, no matter what you do, it will never be enough because in the finite realm, it remains finite. Only in the infinite realm does it have the potential to really just overwhelm you and you don't need any more of it. Okay, so the thirst for human nature is infinite, but we just seek it in the finite realm. So that's why we're naturally wired for this shorter term pleasures. Our desires are directed into business success, personal success, success in relationships, success in every area of our lives. And once it starts to stick that no matter how much success you get in this material realm, it won't be enough, that's when the search for enlightenment begins, right? So really the thing with masturbation, with spilling your seed, is that this orgasm gives you a shorter term spike. But something that's a longer term pleasure will always be sustainable. So this is meditation and getting into a meditative state and eliminating all thought. That can last for days. It can make you feel really, really good all the time, right? But if you look at masturbation and getting an orgasm, it's a sharp spike and then it's gone. you can't hold on to it. It doesn't last. So that's the difference between shorter term and longer term pleasures. Longer term pleasures take you a long time to get to, but when you do get to it, you keep reaping the rewards from it for years to come. But shorter term pleasures just give you a pleasure now and it's gone. So you can't sustain it. I made another video about it, talking about it, so make sure you check that one out. Click the link up here to really understand the difference between instant delayed gratification and why successful people are wired for delayed and the longer term pleasures of life. And that's what makes them successful in business, and really how I became successful in business too, by changing my wiring. Okay, click up here to check that out. But really, to summarize that just understand there are lower and higher pleasures of life. Every time you give into compulsive activities that make you feel good now, okay, you're essentially just wiring yourself to feel good now. You're looking at the next thing and jumping onto the next thing that'll feel good now. You end one session of masturbation to enter another one, and you become compulsive at it. So this isn't really serving you and who you want to become, what you want to achieve, but rather it's becoming detrimental to you. But another big problem that strives is when people start to do semen retention, okay? And this is what's going to be crazy for you to hear. See, there are just two poles to it, right? There's the positive and the negative. So you just keep going from pole to pole. When you want to, do semen retention, you're like in this pole. You're like, okay, good. I'm doing it. But all you do is you keep thinking about it. You're like, oh shit. Don't fall into the trap. Oh shit, it's been 100 and X days. Oh shit, don't relapse. And then when you do relapse, you start to judge yourself. And then you go to the other pole. You're like, oh shit, I relapsed. Oh shit, it was bad. So you get attached to this. You're always going to be stuck in this scale of positive and negative. The key to this is eliminating the scale altogether, ditching the scale altogether, because this scale isn't serving you either. If you're on one end of the scale, you're naturally going to be bound to another end of the scale. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future, right? This is always going to be held above you. It's something you're going to be holding on to. When you hold on to things in life, you fundamentally go against one of the prime nature of life, which is impermanence. Nothing is permanent, okay? Everything is subject to change. So in understanding that, when you have excessive resistance to spilling your seed, that again becomes a sickness, okay? This becomes a sickness and starts to do the opposite effect. You'll probably lose all the effects of semen retention that you've gained. Maybe you feel good, but then when it's in your mind 24/7 and you're holding yourself back and you're fighting against yourself, that again will work against you, okay? Then you craft an identity around it and you start to get attached to that. Oh, I am the quasi that retains the semen, blah, blah, blah. And anything is subject to destroying that. Okay, life will actively try to destroy these identifications to show you its true nature. So to understand this, remember that there are two poles to it. When you get too serious to it, when it enters the mind, then it becomes a sickness. It will multiply and divide and eventually work to your detriment. So the key question becomes, should I retain or should I not retain? The key thing to understand is striking a balance, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, the thing is, just because you retain doesn't mean you'll become successful. Just because you don't retain doesn't mean you won't become successful. I'm sure all the successful people, even yogis, I'm sure even Sadhguru, he has a child. He, spilled his seed at one point in his life. So to really understand this, understand that the nature of this becomes detrimental when it's unconscious, okay? When there's a level of unconsciousness to it. If you do it, make sure you choose to do it. Make sure it's a conscious thing. If you choose to have sex, if you choose to spill your seed, make sure it's a conscious choice, not something that you're bound to, not something you're holding on to. Whenever you hold on to it and it becomes too important, then it starts to create resistance. Now it's going to start working against you. This was absolutely key for me to understand, because without this, I just kept going around in any single area of my life, just holding on to things. I'm like, oh, I'm the 100K month version of Quasi. Oh no, what if the 100K month doesn't happen next month? Then you start to self-sabotage. Oh, what if I can't hold it in anymore? You start to self-sabotage, okay? So this is number one. If you do it, at least make it a conscious choice. If you choose to drink coffee, don't become so dogmatic about it, but rather make it a conscious choice. Learn to enjoy life. Learn to choose what you want to do. If you choose to drink coffee, make sure it's a conscious choice. Make sure it's not becoming a compulsion that actually takes control of you, but something you're actively choosing to do, right? And number 2, understand that there are different levels to it as well. Okay? The lowest level of all is masturbating with porn. A level above that is masturbating without porn. A level above that is doing it with a partner. And a level above that is not doing it with a partner but not ejaculating. And a level above that is not doing it at all. That's complete brahmacharya status, right? So to check that out, check out the video I made on the different levels of semen retention. And really understand that it's not that the problem is in you spilling the seed, but the problem is in you doing it compulsively. And it's in you getting that dopamine spike and wiring yourself for shorter neurons, and you keep chasing the dopamine spike every single day. Okay? That's the number 1 thing. Understand that there are different levels to it. If you choose to do it, I would recommend, go at least a period of time and then you cycle it, so that it doesn't become something dogmatic and something that gains too much importance and too much meaning that you put onto it. If you can change the meaning behind it and still do it for your whole lifetime, go ahead, do it. That's the most effective thing to do. But when you see that it becomes too serious, now it's time to show yourself that it's just a game. Okay? That's important. Number 3, understand that if you do relapse, okay, there's no need for self-judgment. That's not going to serve you at all. That, again, enters the mind, where you're like, oh shit, I relapsed again, and then you fight against yourself, and then you cause yourself harm, right? Anytime you self-judge, you're starting to create that reality in your life with a delay again, okay? So understand that you just got to pick yourself back up and continue on with it. If you fail something, kind of like riding a bike, you fall off. Instead of fighting against yourself and saying, shit, I failed again, you're just going to keep the failure going around, because the failure is now in your mind and it gains a powerful emotional intensity. So with that, it's going to start to create more failures in your life. Instead of focusing on the failure, instead of focusing on how you relapsed, focus instead on what you do want to see. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. So just to recap the gist of this video, we talked about semen retention. And really the biggest thing I want you to take away from this video is understanding the concept of proactivity versus reactivity. We're becoming reactive in this behavior, in this compulsive behavior, which leads you to becoming a slave to this activity. When you become a slave to something, it'll always run you like a puppet. You won't have control over it. And as a result, you won't be able to consciously craft any other thing that you want in your life. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So how we make ourselves slaves and how we make ourselves reactive is by giving into these shorter term pleasure activities instead of wiring ourselves for the longer term pleasure. Understand that building a business doesn't mean that you're going to become a millionaire overnight. Most poor people are looking to become millionaires overnight by doing lotteries and shit. But that's not going to serve you, because you're again wiring yourself for shorter term rewards. Right? That's the difference between rich people and poor people. And I'm not just talking rich and poor in terms of material wealth, but the internal state that you need to have to become wealthy, okay? And to become abundant and not to live in a place of scarcity. What you've got to understand is brokenness is a temporary state of being, but poverty is a state of mind. It's permanent. Okay, this is something that's difficult to change. If you're poverty within and scarce within, then you're going to remain broke. But rich people can temporarily be broke and make that money back very, very quickly, because that's who they are within, right? So in understand that the successful people, they always wire themselves to be non-needy, have longer term gratification, and focus on the longer term pleasures, not the shorter term pleasures that sort of make you reactive to all of these little things, masturbating, stimulants. Doing these things isn't bad in any way. It's just when it becomes an addiction, when it becomes a compulsion, that's when it starts to take control of your life. When it enters the mind, it becomes a sickness. The same thing with the complete opposite of it, right? When you start to become dogmatic about retaining your semen, then it becomes a sickness and you keep riding the two poles. If it becomes a conscious choice, then you go ahead and you do it. You're going to reap the rewards from it, right? And don't also lie to yourself and say, oh yeah, I'm consciously choosing to masturbate right now. That's a big thing too. So to really conclude this video, the 3 keys that we talked about was, number 1, making this a conscious behavior. Unless and until you make it conscious, it's always going to haunt you. You're always going to call it fate, and you're always going to blame someone else. The first thing to do is take responsibility for where you are in life right now. okay? And then make everything that you do a conscious choice. Make it deliberate. Make it an intention. If you choose to have sex with your partner, go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Make sure it's a conscious choice. Number 2, understand that there are different levels to it. And again, I made a video about this. And the lowest level of all is just masturbating with pornography. Pornography just ruins your mind. It just sort of wires it in such a way that you can no longer focus on the longer term activities. And it takes a long time to recover. Number 3, understand that upon relapse, okay, no self-judgment, just pick yourself back up and go forward towards what you do want. Same thing with your business. If you fail right now, no problem. What did I learn from this? How can I improve? Make success the only option. Failure is not even an option. Because the more you keep rotating failure around, swirling failure around in your mind, and you keep saying, shit, I failed, and you keep complaining about it, the more you're going to fail. Whatever you focus on, you create more and more of. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce, as I mentioned before, the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program is now open. Make sure you click on the link in the description below to sign up for that. And who we work with is typically as follows. First of all, professionals who are looking to take their careers to the next level, or even they're looking to transition out and start entrepreneurship. But they find that they've been wired, they've been conditioned for the 9 to 5, right? And that's all they get. And no matter what business opportunity they try, the affiliate marketing, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, none of it really sticks. And they just keep jumping from one opportunity to the next. And why that happens again is because they're not worthy of being entrepreneurs. Their identity is that of a professional corporate worker. And that's why they stay there. If that sounds like you, make sure you click on the link in the description below to sign up. And hope I see you there. Also, we work with entrepreneurs who are looking to take their revenues to the next level. They have all the skills, tactics, strategies, coaches, masterminds, mentors, and with how much they've invested in their business, it's ridiculous. They should be making much more money on paper. But for some reason, an internal ceiling is keeping them stuck here. They're only worthy of the 20, 30, 40K months. That's why they can't scale up. Okay, if that sounds like you, then make sure you click on the link in the description below, and hope I see you there as well. And also, the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.